So now let's think about some of the tools that might help your loved one make decisions about money. We're going to focus on money. So here's the categories. Personal skills and attributes. What do they know? What could they learn? What would assist them in making those decision making? What skills do they bring to the table? Technology, high and low tech resources to help make and understand how to manage money. What relationships do they have or could build that would be help them make financial decisions and make those decisions about how to spend their money, how to save their money, how to maybe even make their money? Community, other community resources that are available to everyone in the community that they could be using. And then lastly, the eligibility. What is your family member eligible for because of their age, their disability, or some affiliation? We all have things that we're eligible for. We all have things in our community, relationships, and technology, and we want to build on those for our loved ones and our families. So then we look at the areas of the star. This has been labeled financial wellness, and Sharon has included the integrated support star that gives us the now and the future. So what are we looking at now and how to build that for the future? So let's start with the personal skills and attributes. We haven't, these are never comprehensive. They're always person-centered and they're always based on your family and your community. But in personal skills and assets, can they compare prices when shopping? That's a big deal between going to one grocery store and going to another, or buying everything at Walgreens when it's much cheaper at Target. Making purchases and waiting for maybe prices to change. Using tools to track spending might all be attributes that they have now. The skills of counting money somebody's added. That's a really big one. Technology, when we talked about low and high tech, we used to work a lot on counting money. And while that's still a good skill, a lot of people use debit cards almost exclusively. I mean, I don't really count out money that much anymore. I have a debit card and it tells me how much I spent and how much I have left. So that's kind of some of the technology that we all use. Some of the other ones that are included in this are a budget envelope. So when you get your money at the beginning of the month, you put your rent money away. You put your money away for your internet and you put away your grocery shopping money. And that way you don't spend all of your grocery shopping money on entertainment and then not have it. So that's just a tool, a really kind of low tech. Capped debit cards. I was talking about debit cards. You can put a cap on your loved one's debit card where they can only spend up to $50 per transaction or so much per day without getting extra supports or a mobile banking account.
Well, I really like the fact that we talked about some low tech things because I think a lot of the times we think of these resources as being really complicated. And what we're wanting you to consider is all the tools at your disposal. So everything around this star, you could choose to use one thing or five things or 10 things, but figuring out, and I think that these are things that you can work with your family member to identify how do they want to learn more about money in their lives. So keep giving us your ideas about ways to build skills around money. What are the tools you all are using in a technology basis for managing your money? I've got a couple of those budgeting apps like Mint and Rocket Money that are things that help you to know what's happening with your money and give you a visual. The banking apps are really good. So lots of stuff available in this area. Let's look at relationships now. I don't know if any of you have considered doing this, but a lot of times when people start managing their own money, families set up a joint account and they go into the banker and say, all right, we're going to set a cap as to how much money this person can spend without getting a secondary person involved. And that way you not only can monitor big expenses, but you can go in and see what's being spent and how they're spending their money. And you have the ability to sit down then at the end of the month and say, let's talk about how you spent your money this month. What do you think went well? Where do you think you could do better? Finding friends and families that are knowledgeable about money. I laughed one time, Deborah and I were teaching this class, and this lovely young man told his dad that one of his relationships that he would go to about money, kind of like Deborah's beautician, was his personal trainer. And his dad was not a bit pleased that that was who he chose. But we asked him, why? Why do you think the personal trainer is a good person to talk to? And he said, hey, this guy's 26 years old. He's got his own business and he has to manage a lot of different decisions. And honestly, I thought he made a good decision about that. Do I want that to be his only person as a financial resource? No. But I think when you look at all the different ways you could scaffold and support financial decision making, having this guy on the team could be really a good one. Deborah, do you want to talk about some of the community-based resources? St. Louis has really got tons of great stuff. And everybody out there who's listening, please keep dropping your suggestions into the chat.
Yeah, there's a lot of programs about financial literacy. The Urban League has them. Your local library is a community resource that can help you with some of those things. Just having going to the bank or the credit union, they do a lot of literacy and money and financial wellness, and will help your loved one understand stocks and resources and interest rates and the different kinds of accounts. Just going to the bank and sitting down with a personal banker and going over about why this account is better than that account, or how this can grow your money, or what an overdraft might be. These are all community resources that are just available to all of us. But sometimes we always think that we need to go to really specific disability-based resources or things that our loved ones are eligible for. And those are great too. So, and the eligibility on that green one, what is the person eligible for? Well, Able's account is a great thing that everyone's eligible for if you live in Missouri and have a disability, to save money in much like a 529 account that protects the disability benefits that might occur up to $100,000. Sharon, you have on here SSI. That is an eligibility that your loved one might qualify for. Junior achievement, you put that on here. I'm not sure what junior achievement does.
I,
So
I
this
I
is a
will
new
tell
for
you,
me.
I'll tell you why I put it under eligibility because it's available to all students up to the age of high school. Junior Achievement has this incredibly cool resource center out near Eureka where kids are brought in for a day of training where they're assigned jobs, incomes, and all these other things, and they have to walk around and rent or purchase a home based on the job and income they've been assigned. They have to do all these things in a live simulation, but it's only eligible to people that are in school. So that's why I put it there. And that's kind of one of the things I wanted to point out about eligibility is that everybody's eligibility can be different. It's not just about disability. I know I have a lot of things I'm eligible for because of my employment here at the St. Louis Arc. We have some supports for this in our EAP program. We have a lot of resources through our 403B plan where I can get some support. As a alumni of a college, I just today got some resources that were for me on estate planning and financial planning for the future. I've never gotten anything from them before, but there it was, and I never even thought to ask. So each of us is eligible for things because of our associations and our unique characteristics that you can consider when you're making decisions. So we've talked about this quite a bit. This is something that you can apply in every situation. I just want to say that Deborah's going to walk through kind of this broad-based supported decision-making worksheet, but I want to make sure everybody also thinks about What kind of questions do you have now? Because we've been talking at you quite a bit. So after Deb talks about the cheat sheet star that's available at Life Course Tools, we're going to stop for a little question break.
All right. So we had our homemade financial wellness integrated support star, but the Life Course Nexus also has these kind of cheat sheet support stars. And it goes through all of those 5 different areas and helps you problem solve or think through those different areas on different topics. Since financial and safety are 2 of the biggest concerns with guardianship and supported decision making, we've chosen those. So we walked you through how we did one with financial wellness. This is the one the Nexus has developed that you can pull. There's also ones on lots of other topics. But the integrated support star can be really used to go through those areas. So, in supported decision making and safety and security, it talks about the ability to communicate in your personal strengths and assets, having some money management understanding, being able to have personal safety. We talk a lot about one of the first things to do is get a state ID, a personal ID that your family member would carry with them so that they have that with them as a safety measure. We think of it as like if we're driving, but it really is a safety measure to have that state ID with them. Having disaster or emergency preparedness, all of those things go into safety and security and what your loved one can bring to the table as a personal strength or asset. Again, in technology, we don't want to only think about that we all have big old computers that we carry around in our purses or our pockets all day, but we do have smartphones have so many different apps and it's growing all the time. But there's other things like just the regular phone, the TV, we've got GPS or emergency things. There might be, for safety and security, you might have a chart by the back door to remind your loved one where to go or how to proceed in case of an emergency. Doesn't always have to plug in or have a battery. Sometimes it's a timer that you just set on the microwave. We want to look at the community ones, your medical advisors. So for decision making, maybe clergy or somebody from your church, financial advisors, educational advisors. We've got money management people that's part of that safety and security as well, of having a limited bank account so that they can't spend all their money on something that they see online or on TV or automatic bill pay. So we make sure that our bills are paid on time on a regular basis. And then there's personal safety kinds of things that we can look at. And it is about looking at your community in that relationship based as well. We've got personal contracts. We have agency agreements, maybe a power of attorney. You can look at those, again, relationships that are around you. We call it networking, I think, sometimes as an adult, but looking at other relationships and how we build those security and those circles of support for our loved ones with close friends and really identify those. And then again, the eligibility. Maybe they qualify for a service coordinator through the regional office. That would be an eligibility. Or maybe there is limited guardianship that's used. A representative payee, someone who helps receive the SSI and then helps spend that money and manage those benefits. Maybe it's a special needs trust or enables account that we discussed a little bit more. There's a lot of different areas, and this is just the tip of the star about what you can think of about these 5 different areas about supporting your loved one with safety and security.
I love that. The tip of the star. We've got 3 questions, so I'm going to start off with the first one, and then Deborah, you can join in and add anything you
Mhm.
might want to add. The first question is something I've thought about many times, so I'm really excited someone's asked us. It's about that one of the first slides that we showed about the improved outcomes in people's lives when they were their own decision maker. And this person saying, do you think that that might be related to the fact that people who choose supported decision making may have a less severe disability? And so maybe their outcomes are better because of the intensity of their disability versus the supported decision making. I think that that could be possible, Lisa. And I think that's why I'm really interested to see the results of the more recent research to see how it plays out. But I can speak directly to anecdotally to people that I know who I would say are perceived as people that maybe could not be their own decision maker, and how I've seen them blossom as they moved into adulthood with the appropriate support for making some pretty challenging decisions, and for the family who's been willing to step back and trust that they've put all the right scaffolding in place for that person to be safe and still be able to make decisions. So I think it has an impact on your sense of self in a lot of ways, whether or not you have a guardian. Having the ability to make as many decisions for yourself as possible really has an impact on how you see yourself. And I will say that on the opposite end of the coin, from a personal perspective, my mother is now 89. She just recently had a very serious surgery. I stepped in as her power of attorney for medical stuff and started doing some things that she felt like were overreach in terms of decision making. And I have to admit, I had to step back and think about, why are you doing this? Is it based on fear of the possible negative outcomes? What other options have you put in place? And I was able to step back from it and take myself out of the decision-making role and really kind of walk through with her how she was going to make decisions about things. It feels very different when you're thinking about an elder versus a person with a disability, but honestly, I think that she was experiencing the same things that I see in people that have had decisions that they know that they could make taken away from them. She was feeling very disempowered and very frustrated. So I don't know, Deborah, is there anything you'd want to say along those around that question?
No, I agree with you completely about, outcomes are different based on your personal strengths, of course, and how you look at it. But we see growth in every. So even if we're not talking about that 18-year-old. So the next question kind of talks about this too, that's building decision-making skills slide. Is there a curriculum of this topic? And so Anonymous, you can email me because I've done a lot of research on this. But even when Sharon was talking about, I don't have little ones at home, I have grandchildren. Um, and the 2-year-old who says, I want to do it, I can do it. And he does it, and he walks out with his pants on backwards or his shoes on the wrong feet, but he's beaming with pride. Is that how I'd want him to go to school? I don't know, but he's building on that. So even the people that we work with that have what we would consider to have less strengths and skills coming into it, they grow and they blossom as they're given these opportunities. There is some curriculum out there about building decision-making skills and about it, but it really just starts off with making decisions and giving those options about it's cold outside. Which jacket do you want to wear?
Yeah.
It's
I
time to
think
switch.
I'm going to also just add to that that I do think that we've got some classes at the ARC that could be useful along those lines. I just have to add the comment too, and I think this is one of the reasons that I always want people to be very careful in their thinking about getting legal decision making for someone, is that people continue to grow and change and learn really indefinitely, but there's still significant growth up to the age of 30 where your brain hasn't really fully formed. And so it's difficult for me when I have families getting information that they should get guardianship at 18, because I think about what I was like at 18. Anybody that would have looked at me on a piece of paper probably would have thought this girl needs some legal support around her. But honestly, I just needed to mature, and I needed to mature in a situation where I had enough people around me who were paying attention so that if I went off the rails, there was somebody there to catch me and help me make sure I didn't make a big mistake. So I think that's important for us to remember, is that our skills, your family member with a disability, their skills are going to get better and better and better. And the last thing I'll say on that topic is I strongly recommend engaging them in self-advocacy organizations. We have two self-advocacy groups here at the St. Louis Arc where people with disabilities are taking action about things that are important to them, both legislatively and also just in terms of community. And they teach each other and they learn and they cheer each other on, and it's such a beautiful thing to see. The
That's
last
awesome.
question was about financial wellness and moving from budgeting as a teenager to an adult with obligations like rent, car payments, etc. Boy, I think that's a really hard one. I think that there are some tools that you can use. Like I said, some of those apps are really great for organizing that. There's a National Disability Institute that their entire mission is about financial wellness for people with disabilities. They have a lot of really good training materials and tools that are available. But I really think you just have to do some trial and error. You need to set up that budget and then adjust it as you see that maybe you haven't thought about something, and keep working forward.
And then the other one is a state issued ID. You don't, it doesn't have to be a driver's license. It's a non-driver's license, just a state ID.
And that's, you get that at the DMV, I believe.
Yep.
And I'm going to just talk about this real quickly because we're not going to stay on this page long. That star that we showed you on the previous page, they also have tip sheets now that walk you through. When I say this type of the power of attorney, what do I mean by that? So you've got a cheat sheet, a sheet that's there for you to help you understand all the resources that are being spelled out on that star.
Well, the Supported Decision Making Consortium is a group of professionals and individuals that gathered together. How many years ago was that, Sharon? Four, five? It's
Well, the
been a
law
little.
changed in 2018, so I think it was right about then.
And got together and really said, how do we move this forward? How do we ensure that doctors know, judges know, school knows that supported decision making is a thing? So recently, the partners between Missouri Protection and Advocacy, Missouri Developmental Disability Council, and UMKC, where the Charting Life Course Nexus came from, have supported what is called the Missouri Supported Decision Making Consortium. And they've got tools and resources.
All right. So the moment you've all been waiting for. This is again on the Life Course Tools website page under supported decision making. It's the idea is a model supported decision making agreement. And I think it was maybe the very first slide where Deborah says there's no one size fits all for supported decision making. So you do not have to use these forms. However, we felt like it was helpful to have a form available that people could use and just get a feel for what it's like. So the first page of this form, the first thing it says is this document is or is not legally binding, right here in the middle. And why it says that is because you can make a supported decision-making agreement even when a person has a legal guardian. So it would not be legally binding if they have a legal guardian, but if they do not, it is legally binding and should be accepted by anybody that is concerned about whether the person can make decisions on their own. The supported decision-making agreement has a list of options under all the different life domains of what kinds of decisions they'd like to have you make, and they can spell out what those are. So for example, financial decision-making, they can say that they do or do not want help with decision-making, and they can list the people on here that they think would be great. So maybe they really trust their mom and how she makes financial decisions, And maybe they also have a relationship with somebody else that would be important. You can add their names here and all their personal information. And then down here, it gets more specific. I want this person to look at my financial information. When my bank statements come in every month, I want them to help me understand them and walk through them. I want them to help me get information about my finances. I want the help making decisions about managing my money and property. And so as you can see, it just goes on with things they can say yes or no to, and then they can add other things. Maybe there's something in particular that this person wants somebody to handle for them financially. They can write that down. Maybe they don't want you to handle other things. Maybe they don't want you to interfere with some specific aspect of their finances. They can include that as well. So each of the sections on this form are this detailed, where that gives you a really a map to talk through. And this could be another great way to talk with your family member. Do you feel comfortable? Do you want me to help you maintain a budget? If they say no, you can say, do you feel like you can do that by yourself, or is there someone else who might be good to help you with that? Sometimes people, particularly at certain ages, don't want their parents to be the ones assisting them, but maybe Uncle John is going to be a great resource, or maybe they've got a long-term relationship with a teacher or somebody that would be helpful. So this is a chance to have really meaningful conversations about different decision-making aspects of your life.
And again,
So
like Sharon said, that was a sample. There's also one that's open-ended where it doesn't give you all the questions and you can just fill it in. And also just we covered the financial, but it covers HIPAA, it covers FERPA, all kinds of other areas. So it kind of walks you through all of those different areas.
we've talked about other tools and resources. When you think about supported decision making, I think of it as being kind of at the lowest end of decision making supports. You're not completely independent, but almost none of us are. Almost all of us have people that we've identified, even if it's not in writing, we've identified in our heads that, boy, I'm having relationship challenges. I'm going to talk to this person. I'm really struggling with my health. I go to this person for that. So supported decision making is kind of at the lowest end of that spectrum. The farthest end is full guardianship. And these things that we're going to talk about now are kind of in that middle. So, durable power of attorney, almost all adults are encouraged to get durable powers of attorney so that if they're incapacitated, they can get additional support. And these are also for people that may just need to have somebody else make big decisions for them related to healthcare or finances. So, this is a fairly simple process that you can go through. Ideally, I think it's better to do it with a lawyer, walk through the aspects of the power of attorney, and list out what it is that you're going to get assistance with decision making. One of the nice things about power of attorney is that they are revocable. So you can set a power of attorney and say that you want to review it every 2 or 3 years, or you can just wait it out and decide at age 30 that you don't need it anymore and go back and have it revoked without having to go through a really long and laborious process. A living will spells out exactly what you want to have happen with your belongings and for yourself if things move forward. Deborah, do you want to take a couple of these?
A special needs trust is a trust that can be set up to provide financial assistance to your loved one that would protect their eligibility for SSI or Mo Health Net, otherwise known as Medicaid. And that takes an attorney as well. So some of these tools and resources you can do on your own, like supported decision making. Some of them really do need an attorney or someone else to help you. Adult protective services, sometimes we need to get some help from the legal community to protect our loved ones. And then the supported decision-making agreement or supporteddecisionmaking.org, where you can get more information on supported decision-making.
I just want to make a really quick comment about adult protective services. I think one of the things that Deborah and I spent a lot of time talking about when we first started teaching this class was was the myths around guardianship, that somehow by getting that piece of paper that you were guardian, it was going to protect your family member from exploitation. It was going to protect them from maybe getting themselves in trouble with the law. And guardianship really isn't going to do that necessarily. And there's a lot of other things that we can put in place that all of us use. If somebody's causing problems, then you can reach out and get support just like anybody else would from Adult Protective Services or from getting a restraining order, those kinds of things. So we want to make sure that we're using the same kinds of resources that are available that we would for anybody else.
Sharon, I'm glad you brought that up because that really is a big point. Is a lot of times when we start discussing with families this supported decision making, having those conversations about safety really does empower the person to be far safer than a guardianship would, because those guardianship papers don't go with me. And so I tell the story about the friend who was an attorney and had guardianship, and her daughter was drinking alcohol. It was contraindicated from some medication that she was taking. And she said, but I'm her guardian. And I said, they didn't ask her. They asked her if she was over the age of 21 and could buy alcohol. No one asked for your guardianship papers. Having that conversation with her daughter about it's really not good for you to have any alcohol at this point. You are over 21, you're an adult, but for health reasons, this is why you shouldn't, was a far better way to keep her daughter safe than getting guardianship. So this is just another slide that we talk about the power of attorney. There's several different kinds, and most estate planners include several different kinds of powers of attorney when they do estate planning in Missouri. The two most common ones are medical, which Sharon has discussed, and then the financial, where you designate another person to make those, help you make those decisions. You're still the decision maker, but there's somebody there who can make it when you cannot, to act on your behalf.
Deborah, we have a question in the chat, and I want to punt it to you. Which option, supported decision making or guardianship, better protects your loved one from being sued? And does either better protect parents from being sued?
Well, that's more of a legal question because you can sue anyone for anybody, for anything. And I've heard attorneys talk about this before, that so if I do something wrong, but I'm not my own guardian, is that a way out? Yes. Is it an automatic? No. If I sign a contract, if I go to the Sprint store and buy 3 phones for the people that I just met in the parking lot, and drain my full bank account and sign a contract that says I'm going to be responsible for that, could an attorney get me out of that? Probably. Will it take you 3 years and a lot of work? That's what we've seen in the past. So while guardianship does or should limit that that risk, it doesn't always protect from all of the things that go in that are involved in it. Kind of like I discussed with the drinking. The other one is personal safety. So we hear a lot about internet safety and things that are happening online. And because I'm not my own guardianship doesn't keep me from getting in a bad chat room or giving out my social security number or many, many other things. If I think about, like Sharon, my mother's 89 as well. If I was her guardian, she still answers her phone. She still opens her mail. She still is in the grocery store. When we talk about and supported decision making about mom, don't make any of these decisions. When you get Medicare paperwork, I'll help you make those decisions. When we go to the doctor's office, I'll help you make those decisions. When you answer your phone, you're not making those decisions. And talking about that is far safer. So now we're going to give you some resources. So while we said you can go to an attorney or state planner and get this done, you can also go to the Bar Association. I really like sending people to the Bar Association for the durable power of attorney, so that even if you're using an attorney for this and for your planning, to go through it and look through all of it. The other thing, like Sharon said, we all need it. I need somebody that maybe would make decisions when I'm incapacitated. My adult children do. We need to have it for the grandchildren when their parents are out of town. But just going to the Bar Association gives you the opportunity to kind of look through and educate yourself, which That's what we're talking about with a lot of the things that are alternatives to guardianship is it takes a little bit of work, and we get that, because educating yourself on all these topics is really hard, but we want to give you the tools so that you can do just that. Here's another one. So this was one of the supporters of the Missouri Developmental Disability Council, has come up with a supported decision-making resource guide. So there's about 7 guides in it. This one is one of my favorites. It's a really nice little booklet. Do I have to get guardianship? And so going to this website and looking at their supported decision-making resources can help walk you through in really nice, plain language about guardianship, about independent living, about education and employment. I have the books right here. Planning for your lives, health decisions, living your best life. Everyone deserves the American dream. So just some nice resources there through that Missouri Developmental Disability Council.
This is the link to the Life Course Nexus that we talked to you about. Tons and tons of wonderful resources there. They also do webinars if you need to hear some of this material from somebody other than me and Deborah. There's other people that can talk to you about supported decision making. I think for me, one of the most important things is just kind of thinking about who is in the circle of support around your family members, helping them to be able to articulate early on who those people are. Who do you trust? Who do you want to help you make this decision? Because that's going to be really key as you're moving forward to think about all the people in your life. And honestly, that's one of the things I should have said with when we shared the supported decision making form is that as you go through that form, there's a place at the end for the person to sign it, but also for the people they've chosen to be their decision makers. So if one of your family members wants to choose me to support them in their healthcare decisions, I have to know that. And I have to say, yep, I'm committed to that. And I think there's something really wonderful about having that opportunity at age 10, at age 18, at age 38, to really solidify who those people are that are in your team that are there to help you. So I just wanted to add that as we were kind of closing out here.
I'm just going to give you guys a plug because I love the ARC on their YouTube channel has a couple of the commissioners, St. Louis County commissioners, talking about guardianship and really the supports that the court now provides pretty much as a result in the change of the law about reversing guardianship and what this all looks like. So there's tons of support out there available. We're there at Special School District. So if you have an adult who is no longer part of Special School District, if you never lived in St. Louis County and never participated with Special School District, you can still contact FACE at face@ssdmo.org, or contact us through Special School District, and we would be able to help you. The ARC also has tons of resources that I'll let Sharon share.
Absolutely. Thank you, Deborah, for talking about the YouTube page. We have over 300 videos up there now, and it was so nice to be able to have the probate court judges from St. Louis County talk about guardianship and alternatives to it, but also what to do if you want to try and revoke a guardianship. Something we didn't talk about because our focus today is supported decision making is that there are ways you can limit guardianship if you decide to go that route. So be sure to look at those videos because they're going to have information about all of that. Here's our website, and come and let us know if you need assistance. If you want to talk about strategizing about decision making supports, we'd love to talk to you about that. We've got 5 family navigators in our team who can sit down one-on-one with you and really create a game plan for moving forward. I wanted to encourage you all for homework. I want you to think about what your biggest concern maybe would be in pursuing supported decision making, kind of taking that first step to have have your family member take more control of the decisions in their life. What is your biggest concern? And do the star around it. And if you don't know where to start, reach out to FACE, reach out to the St. Louis Arc. We would be happy to make your own star around that area of, community safety or financial or not making good health decisions, whatever it is, we can talk you through that so that you can decide, I'm going to take this one step. Because all you need to do is take one step forward and then keep doing that.
One of the other things Sharon talked about, the young man who picked his personal trainer for his supported decision making and financial, and that was so powerful. And for us too, as presenters, there was a mom who was really concerned about her daughter and taking medication. And we identified that her personal strength is she's okay taking it. She doesn't mind taking it. She can swallow pills very well, but she couldn't remember. And so with technology, we were able to help her find a way to have an app on her phone that would order the medication. It was delivered to her home and had even something that connected with the doctor's office if her daughter didn't take the medication. That mom was so excited that night to even know that that was really an area of concern, whether she was there to help her daughter or when she was gone, that there was something that she had conquered. She and her daughter had conquered, and her daughter would be independent with that level of support. So it doesn't always have to be mom. Sometimes it's the neighbors, the technology, the community supports, the eligibility. So let us help you find those things.
And I'm going to take this minute to thank Deborah, who is my favorite person to present with, who brings so much knowledge as both a member of the family and community engagement team, but also as a family member. And I really value having her at the table with me here to talk to you tonight about supported decision making.